Hello there guys and welcome to Goodstorms Games, and today I'm going to do a little video called What is City Skylines? Because, I've never done a video like this and might as well do something new. Anyways, so City Skylines is a game where you build magnificent cities, such as this crazy contraption here in front of me. And yes, it is laggy as heck because my computer is just as good as a shoebox in a sandy dune, you know? Just sandy. Anyway, so what do you do in City Skylines? Well, you build a city, and then you are, well, I mean, it's a city simulator, basically. You manage a city, you try to make it prosper and grow, or you make it completely a disaster, whatever you feel like doing, depending on your mood and whimsy. I tend to try and make a fairly environmentally friendly city for the most part. I try to break out of that habit once in a while, but I have a very hard time not pleasing all of my citizens and making them happy. Now, there's some very important things, and I'm going to pause this right now. Pause. There we go. That should hopefully speed things along here. Still laggy because I'm trying to record while the game's running. Weirdness, right? Anyways, a couple things that you need to do to manage. You need to manage your electricity here. So as you can see, I've got this little meter over here on the left side here. And this meter is very important because if you don't have electricity, people aren't happy. And here's another resource, water. Water, if you don't have clean water, water can get contaminated. Right now I have all sorts of water treatment plants. I've made a man-made, like, this giant, and I've been playing this save for a while now. It's the longest save I've actually played. I made this whole lake. This whole lake here, man-made. Entirely man-made out of sewage water. It's grand. So this is my city of interesting things, I suppose. But yeah, so that's built there. You have your water. And water is very important. Without water and electricity, your city cannot function. No one will live there, people will be very unhappy, people will move away. As you see down here, this is my population. I got 39,300 citizens at the moment, so, a small city. And negative 37, so that's the amount of population that's leaving at the moment. So people are leaving my city because they aren't getting certain things. Down here you have money, so this is another resource you have to manage. Money. You have to build various different objects. Here's power plants. You've got windmills, more windmills with solar panels attached, which are better apparently. You got coal power plants, oil powered plants. You've got hydro dams. You have solar panels, and in here you also have a nuclear power plant, which I haven't unlocked yet because I haven't. There's all sorts of other things. You have monuments, or unique buildings, and then there's monuments here, which I have not unlocked either. These unique buildings are kind of like tourist attractions. They're statues, they're gardens, all sorts of various interesting buildings, which you have to build in order to build the monuments. And I've built everything so far. You also have your leisure. So this is, people need something to do in your city to be happy, and it also improves property values. So here's all the parks through the city, all sorts of parks everywhere, pretty much. And that makes your citizens happy, it gives them something to do as they travel to and from work. Now, talking about to and from work, here's a little thing. So basically what you're doing is micromanaging all these different problems, and it really simulates a city very well and real world problems that you have in a city. Now, the great thing about this city is that the great thing about this game, you don't have to deal with things like water main breaks, bridges collapsing, all sorts of real world problems that you don't get in a video game. But you have to manage traffic, you have to manage the amount of water being created, you have to manage the money, you have to manage the transportation, the fire, the police, the health of all your citizens. And as you notice, I have all sorts of traffic problems. I have lots of roundabouts in my city. Pretty much everywhere there's roundabouts. I mean, some parts of the city are all roundabouts. So, that helps with everything. That helps with traffic flow. Except for right here, I have huge traffic problems right here. because I have cruise ships coming in here, and I have people coming in from the highway over here, and this is like the main hub right here, back and forth through my city. So it's pretty tough, pretty tough. So yeah, it's a real world problem. If you don't design your roads very well, you have terrible traffic problems. Police can't get places, fire trucks can't get anywhere. I've had buildings burned down, whole sections of the cities burned down because the fire trucks couldn't get to the fire in time because of all the traffic, which happens in real life in cities. The city that I live in right now, that happened the other day with the police car. A police car went to go through an intersection and someone turned left in front of it, and it was really bad. You know, emergency vehicles, just, you know, let them go on their way, get out of the way of the emergency vehicles. It's a pretty simple, you know, concept that apparently no one here gets, or in this game as well. So that can be a problem. In this game, which I really like, there's an environmental aspect. You got pollution. So you have to manage pollution as well. So this is an industrial area that has a whole bunch of pollution. We have some pollution in the water from the man-made lake of sewage. It's not as bad as it used to be because I didn't have treatment plants. You don't start out with treatment plants in the beginning, so you just pollute like crazy. There's also green industry. So this is the other polluting industry, but all this here, all this industry here, if I could just click on this export here. So this is all lumber industry. This is all sort of goods. We have some farming, more goods, and more farming here. And so there's all sorts of different industries. There's oils industry, there's mineral industries, there's agriculture and forestry. Is the main industries in this game, which is pretty cool. You have your transportation, your mass transport. So I have ports here. I don't have an airport yet because I'm not high enough level, but I also have a metro throughout my whole entire city as well. I also have buses through my city, which aren't... The bus system is really hard. It's very hard to make an effective bus system in this game. And I also have trains up here as well. So I have lots of freight trains, so the industry has lots of ways to get rid of freight. I also have a couple of train stations for people coming into town. So there's another freight train there. And train tracks going everywhere, which way. We also have, this is land value, which this is basically your tax income. It basically teaches you all sorts of cool stuff, even though you know, shouldn't be learning, but you know, you do learn these things. You know, you have a park nearby, the land value goes up. You have a school nearby, your land value goes up. You know, because those are places you want to live, especially with a family. You want to have things to do. You want to be close to parks, basically leisure activities of any sort, especially inexpensive ones, that you can have fun, relax, and enjoy nature and all that. And you also want to have a good place for education. You want lots of things to do. So there's all sorts of commercial. So if we go to the zoning here, we've got all this commercial down here, industrial. You want to be close to your work. You want to be close to commercial, buying goods, things like that. So it really models that really well. And you can also follow individual people around in the city. So if I go and click on one of these cars here, and even one of these people, you can actually click on one of these people, and this is why this game gets so slow. You can actually follow, you can click on this little button right here, and you can follow Oliver Ward on his way going about. So if we unpause this, and it's going to be really laggy, but we can follow Oliver Ward all over town as he travels about. He looks like he's getting on the bus. Apparently not that bus, because that bus is full. Everyone's waiting for buses that are oh so full. Look at these people on mopeds too. And there's all sorts of traffic. Let's see if we can grab one of these guys here and follow them instead. Let's see this bug spray van. 23%. Ooh, gonna go kill some vermin. Good. Nylons galore. The bug spray van owner, nylons galore. Oh. There's so many incongruities with that. It just does not sound like a good time. It sounds kind of creepy. But yeah, and you can hear all the police officers going by. There's the ambulance stuck in traffic, of course. As you can see, yeah, emergency vehicle stuck in traffic, you know? Great times, right? Anyways, let's pause that. No one's doing anything interesting. No one's going anywhere interesting. But anyways, you can follow them to and from work to see how they get around and where they work and where they shop and things like that to kind of get an idea of what your citizens do. You can rename people and places if you really want to get into that micromanagey, super like in-depth game. You can make up stories about every single resident in your city, but that's 39,000 stories that you have to make up, which is pretty crazy, and all the fictitious relationships that they have with people. So it's sort of kind of like The Sims, but a lot less sim-like. And yeah, this game is a lot like SimCity, but I really enjoy this game because it has a lot of things that I enjoy about it, and I really like the way they do traffic, because pedestrian traffic actually influences traffic. Let's see if I can find an intersection here that's just absolutely loaded with people trying to walk somewhere. Let's see. Let's see, there should be one by, that's the industrial, so it's not going to be industrial, but commercial. Commercial is always busy for foot traffic. So let's see, is there anyone down? Surprisingly, there's not a lot of people. Well, I guess there's some people. Those people are waiting for a bus, though. I'm really surprised. Let's check traffic down here. Yeah, well, there's some traffic. There's some foot traffic here and there, but the foot traffic can really impede the traffic in general if you have, you know, four-way stops. Four-way stops are really bad for foot traffic. Foot traffic can cause all sorts of traffic jams. I had one city where it was impossible for anyone to get anywhere, and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, the car's just not moving. And the reason why they weren't moving is because it was right beside a metro. Everyone would get out of that metro and just go crazy, flooding across the street over to all of the commercial. And it was just terrible. So, and let's see, let's look at some more stuff that there is. There's also noise pollution. I really enjoy this in this game, and there's all sorts of different ways to combat noise pollution, primarily spacing out, you know, loud, noisy areas, traffic areas from residential areas, because those are the people who care the most about the noise. Commercial has lots of noise, industrial has lots of noise. So the more industrial and commercial and the closer it is to houses, the less happy people will be, and in turn, that's how land value is based. It's basically based on people's happiness and the things that they can do. Oops, I pressed some buttons. Anyways, so that's how that goes. We also have, let's see, population. So we have all sorts of population. We have the different things like young adults, seniors, teens, and children. Apparently there's lots of adults and young adults in the city, which is good because those are the type of people who have income and spend money and pay taxes. So that's good. Lots of teens is, you know, they sometimes have expendable income, but not usually. So yeah. Wow, what's black? Mostly seniors. This is the senior part of town, apparently, because I guess it's really far away from all the traffic. It's weird. And then yeah, so, and also, you know, shorelines. People like shorelines, so shorelines are more expensive. That's why I built up all this residential, and there's some commercial in here too as well. Along this shoreline, you have different types of roads. Road building is the biggest thing of this game. You want to make all sorts of interchanges. You want to try and make traffic as little as possible. You know, you want to have the least amount of traffic. The big problem is that you have limited points, especially earlier on in the game, of access to the highway. So when I started building this city, it started out with just this intersection here, which I have completely changed, and you can tell this was like the center point of where I started the city, and this is basically the center point still of the city, because this is where I get the majority of my traffic, and this is where I've had most of my problems of traffic until I got that this harbor here, and then this all became red as well. So there's all these different intersections. I have all these different trying to reroute some of the traffic away from this intersection for so long that I have all of these different roads and intersections and interchanges, things like that. So I got these interchanges, which are really the most basic interchange that you'll see on a highway, is this bridge of the, you know, road that's not the highway over top of the highway, and then you'd have it going to either side, and you'd have these off ramps here and there and on ramps here and there. So this is the very basic kind of interchange that you see pretty much anywhere. And it causes some traffic here, as you can see, people trying to get off, people trying to come on, and they should be spaced a bit more, of course, but you know, they're not always that spaced even in real life. So this is an insane contraption here that it has really done very little and really hasn't increased traffic flow at all. As you can see, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that's the biggest part, is traffic. Learning how to deal with traffic and how to design roads and design a city to have fluid traffic flow that's not all bunched up. And I have all sorts of, I guess that's from the train, the cargo train and industry and stuff like that, and people coming and going from work, probably. It looks like it, yep. And also probably, now that I think of it, it's probably the commercial and more commercial and stuff over here getting supplies from up here, which happens sometimes. Alright, and then let's see fire safety. Whoops, excuse me. So yeah, this is another thing that you have to manage, fire safety. As you can see, buildings have different colors. So they go from dark red, which is the most highly probable having fire and not having any solution to it and just burning down half your city, and to blue, which is there's, you know, you have no worries. Or should have no worries, unless your traffic is terrible. So, spot like, let's see, if we go to the fire here. Here's a fire station. Now, say I have a fire here, and this fire station is trying to get to it. We've got all this traffic to contend with. So it's going to slow down its progress and potentially burn down the whole entire city. So the number one thing you have to solve is traffic. Yeah, so this is kind of what you do. And then you've got, zones. Zones are the most interesting, kind of like the micromanaging part of the whole thing. So you go into here, and these are all different settings. You have farming industry, you have your ore industries, and all these different industries. This is mostly for industrial, but you can also use it for commercial as well, because if you have a zone, you can go down into this little tab over here, your policies, and then you have all these policies. So you can set these policies individually to each zone. You have your different taxation, so you can increase the tax rates for different like low industrial commercial, or you can give tax breaks. For city planning, you can have like all this stuff, big business benefactor and stuff. You can have a high-rise ban, so you can't have anything taller than, you know, 2 stories. You can have your power be used less. I don't usually or tend to use this because I normally get green sources of energy for the most part. This city is an exception. I've had coal and things like that in this city. Just because I wanted to do something different, I kind of did everything. So power usage, if you want them to reduce their consumption of power, you can do that, but it also costs you 5 cents per building, which can add up to a lot. Same with water usage as well. These are 2 things that I barely ever check off, even though I wish I could, but I normally don't make enough money in order to check those off. Pet ban, people like their pets. It makes them unhappy, so I usually don't do that either. Reduces your garbage, of course, but still, I normally don't do that. You could also get recreational use of marijuana as a policy, which is interesting. It increases crime slightly, but it also increases the police budget as well, but it moderately increases tourism and slightly increases tax income, which is all applicable to real life. Same with recycling. Recycling is applicable to real life. Apparently I have that one on. Normally don't usually, but reduces garbage accumulation and slightly reduces tax income because of course you have to pay for the recycling program. And that's the great thing about taxes. They pay for things. They pay for your roads. They pay for, development. They pay for all sorts of cool things. Same with parks and recreation. You got all these different policies. And then you have, this is your main tab for figuring out your income, your budget, things like that. You have your loans, which I haven't had to use a single loan in this map, and I've been making lots of money. As you can see, I have $3 million at the moment, which is pretty much insane because I've never had this much money in this game ever. I normally am floating just above 20,000 for the most part usually, but I've been making plus 20 to plus 10 $1,000 per, I think it's like per week or something like that, or per month by like the time frame. And so it's been pretty good. So you have all your different income and expenses. So you have all your income, your taxes from residential. You have all the taxes coming from your commercial and all your taxes coming from your industrial. As you can see, residential is normally the highest tax income because that's where people pay the most taxes. Commercial, much lower, and same with industrial. Industrial is dead low. And then you have your expenses as well. Actually, is this income? Weekly public transport income. Apparently, I didn't realize this. I don't have free public transport, so that people pay for transport. Did not know that. So you make some money there as well. A lot of people are using the public transport apparently, though. Still, tourist income, and you have citizens income as well. That's for commercial as well. And then you have all your expenses. You have your road services, you have your electricity services, your water services, your garbage, your monuments, your parks, your fire, your police, your education, your health, your transportation, your loan payments, and also your policies expenses. So that's how that works. And you can adjust everything here. I put everything up max because the happier citizens are, the more they pay their taxes. So I basically do as much as I can to increase happiness in this game, and that's basically how you beat this game, is reduce traffic, increase happiness. You pretty much will make tons of money and be able to do whatever kind of city building you want and enjoy the game. And you also have taxation here, which you can increase and lower taxes as you feel fit, and people will get unhappy if you raise the taxes too high, and if you leave it for too long, they'll abandon their buildings and leave your city. We also have crime rate, as you can see, and it's the same as the fire, and you'll also have health. Where's health? Health is the one thing I have not done very much. Oh, you also have your levels, so what tier the buildings are. So the buildings upgrade over time depending on the occupation. Like people occupying the building and or sales kind of thing, depending on the type of building it is. And they upgrade and have more income or more taxation and more value the more they upgrade. So most of these are upgraded at like top tier because I have really good happiness, and the city's been going on for a long time. So a lot of people are super happy. We did that. Population. Oh, outside connections. Outside connections is actually really important because sometimes you have weird things happen, and this has happened only a couple times, but it is pretty important. You need to have really good access for commercial and industrial to outside sources from the highway or from train stations or from the piers, because they need to bring materials in to produce goods or to sell things. So the closer they are to the highways or the train stations, things like that, the better. So it's a weird thing that it happens in real life. You need those connections with other cities to get resources that you normally wouldn't have in your city. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, so you have your export. This is all our exports. Goods, agriculture, forestry products. It's a fairly green city, marginally. There's some industry producing goods, things like that. Tourism. We also have tourism, which is really interesting. I've just been getting into the tourism recently, and it's been going huge. Um, and you have all sorts of. I don't really know how to maximize tourism in your city. It's one of those things that's not really explained in this game very well. SimCity does the tourism thing a heck of a lot better, I will say that. It's a pretty good game too. I like this game because there's all sorts of mods you can install, and also really good fan base for this game as well, and lots of support as well. I still love this man-made lake that I built. Let's see, you also have your topography. Now, I'm going to click on this here, electricity, and I'm going to go to my electricity board here. I'm going to click on this. Now, what you're seeing here is the electricity grid, is this all these blue space here, and all these lines, things like that. This is stuff you have to manage. Make sure your power plants are attached to your city. And I have a couple of wind turbines in here. Now, all this dark bluish, kind of grayish teal area, this is a wind map. So this wind map is overlaid on top of the map, and you can see where all the highest points of wind are. The mountains here, you can see it has lots of wind. The shorelines have lots of wind as well. Same with the water bodies. The water bodies always have wind going towards land masses, because when the land's heated up, you end up with a lower pressure because of the water vapor, and you have the water vapor rising up, and to fill that space you have cooler air coming off the water to replace that. And you have the reverse happen in colder seasons when the water is warmer than the land is. So occasionally you have it going the opposite direction, but whenever you're near water, you have that kind of microclimate of air moving from the water body or to the water body at a very constant rate, just because of the high and low pressure zones between the two areas, which is pretty cool. So you get lots of wind from that, and this is a cool way of doing the wind chart, things like that. Now, big, large, wide, open bodies of water, they don't always have wind because there isn't really land mass nearby to produce the wind. So there is some things that they could have. I mean, it's pretty accurate for the type of area geography that we have. So that's cool. Now, and you can also do, here's another land map, and see, this is all the water and the topography still. So you also have currents. Here you can see the little arrows that indicate how much current is in the place. And this here is a dam. So you can build a water dam, a hydro dam, sorry, and you can produce electricity as well. So it has all these cool things and all really real world applicable kind of buildings and science and things like that. It's got a lot of realism that certain other games don't. Now, I believe there is disasters that you can have. Either it's a mod or they are implemented in the game. I haven't seen one yet. Probably once you get into the higher levels of city development, so you get really good at the game and at managing how people are unhappy. And as you can see, people aren't happy. There's these little things that show up and tell you. Not enough workers, of course. It's this little person. There's all sorts of warning symbols like that. Yeah. But this is basically the game. It's a lot of fun. Ooh, health. Let's look at health. Yeah, here we go. Now, I should have sick people somewhere. Like down here. Down here I have, see right here. I have lots of problems with noise. If you have too much noise, you get sick people. So the residence is too close to high traffic industry kind of shipping. So it's way too close to that. So there's all sorts of noise. They get sick and unhealthy, and they have to go to the hospital, things like that. But I have really good hospitals, so I don't really, it doesn't bother me too much because they can get good healthcare in my city. Now, does that healthcare cost money? I mean, I live in Canada. The city is totally fictitiously in Canada, so it's free healthcare. Like, totally. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, oh yeah, that's the wind. We already did levels. Happiness. There we go. Happiness. So as you can see, all this blue, very, very happy. Some of the commercial happiness is a bit not as good. Probably because of road connections and traffic, they can't really get the kind of things that they need to be really happy. Industry's happy, offices are happy, and everything's pretty much 100% happiness, because happiness is income in this game. The happier everything is, the more income that you get from said land, because the value goes up, because people value the land more when they're happy. That's the funny thing about cities. If you can make your citizens happy, the value of your city goes up, because if you have happy citizens, you have, you know, and there's income coming in, there is money being generated, there's an economy. You're doing all the right things when your citizens are happy. If they're not happy, then you're doing something wrong, and the value of your city goes down. It's the same with when you're renting apartments. If your tenants aren't happy, and I mean sometimes you can get really dick tenants. That happens sometimes. But if your tenants aren't happy, they're gonna value your rooms, your land and property. They're not going to value it, and they're going to damage it. They're going to do all sorts of things to it. It's just the way things are. If you don't value something, if you don't make your customers happy, they're not going to come back. That's the same with any business. That's the same with any city. That's the same with any relationship. If you don't make someone happy, they're not going to come back. You know, it's basically the same thing for everything. So this is a city. And let's see, we did that. Training, leisure. I think we've covered everything. This is basically, this is 30 minutes of me going over what this game is, and I'm pretty sure I went over almost everything. I'm going to go into this real quick, because as you level up, you can buy new land, and you can buy up all of this land in order to build your city eventually. As you can see, there's a lot of space for me to expand my city and to make it much, much larger. So I have a long ways to go in this game still, and I might make a couple more videos here and there if I do something really interesting with this city. But I just really wanted to introduce this to people who haven't really played the game before and just kind of show it off. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we also have this little tab that I haven't gone through yet. And you also have garbage of course. All important garbage. People have to have a place to throw stuff out, and you can't just ship the garbage off to another city. I think SimCity has that function, but it costs money, of course, to ship your garbage off. And yeah, so you have garbage. You have to put it different places, different depots. You also have incinerators, which generate electricity and burn garbage, which also produce a crap ton of pollution, which, the real world applicable. Yep, real world applicable. Basically, that's the word of the day. Real world applicable, or the phrase of the day, I should say. Now, crematoriums. Yeah, you got crematoriums. Where do people put their dead? Crematoriums, cemeteries, hospitals. You have different size police and fire. You also have education. Education is really important. It helps raise the property values as well. You have elementary schools, you have high schools, and you have universities. Now, you can see here the capacity is really high, and depending on how you design your city, and if you design it around your amenities, you're not going to have to build as many, and you're going to save a lot of money that way. But if you don't design your city quite right, you end up building more than what you need, because people can't access those amenities. So you have these little schools here. These are only at half capacity, but that's because I have residential areas way up here, I have residential areas way down here, and I have whole sections that are kind of cut off from each other, so the schools can't really service everybody. And this down here basically doesn't have anything. You see, as the roads, this is kind of can the kids get to school? And this area here, not really anybody. High schools again. I built I built it for accessibility, but they're not maxed out in capacity because it's very tough to get people to the schools. And I mean, in real life, it's still applicable too, you know? People want to be happy, and, you know, they like having a school nearby. If there's not a school nearby, you can destroy whole communities. If you shut down a rural community's school, you could potentially completely destroy that whole community, because that school is what brings people to that community, what brings people to be taxpayers of that community, to be, you know, involved in that community, to bring income into that community that normally would, you know, just live in the city. So that's a huge, cool, weird, interesting thing. Oh, and here's the transportation. So yes, we've got metro, we've got bus stations, yeah, train stations. We've already talked about all this, but, you know, they're all here. And you can build them, place them down, do all the cool stuff. And parks. You have all sorts of different parks. This is really cool because you also have pathways. You can also do alter the terrain to make it higher or lower. So you can make giant lakes if you want, you know, out of the sewage of your city. Sewage lake. Or you know, you can make channels to divert sewage from an area, or water. You could potentially make a channel from, say, this water body to this one over here, or that one to that one. You can make all sorts of shipping lanes, all sorts of weird, crazy stuff you can do. You can plant trees and rocks, which they don't really do anything. They're just cosmetic for the most part. And you can build canals and weirs and all sorts of things as well. But these pathways here, so pedestrian traffic, really, really important. There's not really anything in the game that shows you pedestrian traffic, but it is very important. Making crosswalks over highways and things, and connecting portions of your city so citizens can walk from one end of the city to the other instead of driving everywhere. It helps with traffic, you know, having good walkways everywhere. Having parks, things like that, that connect to different things. You know, people are happier. They walk to work through the park, things like that. This city is not a good example of pedestrian friendly. This is definitely not a pedestrian friendly city. There is some good sides, there's a lot of bad sides to it. There's like one park there, one park here. You got a little bit of foot traffic, footpaths here and there, but it's really not well connected. I think there may be one, yeah, there you go. There's one pathway across the major highway from one side of the city to the other. So if you're a pedestrian, you're, you know, SOL when it comes to getting from one side to the other, unless you come over here, you know, walk all the way over here, which people do. Or, you know, you take the metro. But if you didn't want to take the metro and wanted to walk from one side to the other, you're kind of SOL, because there's a giant highway in the way and there's only one way across. It'd be more SOL if there was, you know, there wasn't that crosswalk, but there is, so woo. I think this area is interesting because these are roundabouts made out of highways, and highways don't have sidewalks. So you can only walk around this. You can't walk through this at all. Which is kind of annoying. I should probably make... Yeah, that'd be too much work to make crosswalks across all that, but yeah. But yeah, this was a, you know, 40-minute introduction of basically everything that is Cities Skylines, and I really enjoy it because, you know, it's real world kind of practice, kind of being a god almost, of creating your own city and planning it out and seeing if it works. You can do all sorts of experiments to see if it works. It's a good simulator. A lot of city planners would probably, you know, benefit from a game like this if it was really well designed and really well planned out, and this game has a lot of logic that works really well. I wish they had crazier drivers, because then traffic would flow better and not flow better at the same time. Because one of the biggest things, like, as you see, there's a 6-lane, you know, thoroughfare thing here, and everyone is in the right lane. Everyone is in the right lane. There's no... Everyone is not going the same place, just everyone's in that single lane, and it causes so much traffic, whereas people could spread out and be, you know, but no, depending on where they're headed, they don't really, they're just Nope, they're all in the same place, pretty much for the most part. So it slows down traffic a heck of a lot. So I wish they had that kind of logic where they, if the traffic was getting really thick in a spot, they'd have people move over and take out more sections of the thing and, add a little bit more realism to the traffic flow, things like that. But yeah, it's pretty good for modeling traffic for, a video game. And it's really good for modeling cities and how cities work. And I just love this game. I've been playing at least 40 hours of this game so far, and probably gonna put hundreds of more hours into it. Yeah, probably. This is basically probably my second favorite game from Minecraft. Minecraft's a really good game that, you build all sorts of things, meet cool people, develop communities, develop relationships with people. It's a really good game for that kind of stuff. Learn how to cooperate with people and accomplish things and plan things and do all sorts of cool stuff. Probably going to get back to my server one day, but this is Goodstorms Games, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and if you did, stick around and there might be more videos like it. But I can't promise anything because I'm a crazy and inconsistent person. A crazy and inconsistent person, and I kind of do this as a hobby, so, stick around. Keep adventuring. Bye.